Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2023 Under One Sky Global Conference. So this is the first regional session, the East and Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand regional session. There are billions of people living here in this region, and more people start to realize the importance of dark sky and start to take actions to fight the growing light pollution. Whether or not you are from this region, I'm sure you will learn something that can help apply to wherever you came from. This year, you will hear about lighting design, about wildlife, and learn about a high school teacher's approach to save the dark sky. So I'm the host of this section. My name is Ruoyu Li. I was born and raised in China, and I'm passionate advocate for dark sky protection and actively promotes the dark sky movement in China. I just joined the dark sky staff team as an information technology manager and a regional engagement associate, mainly focused on China. I'm a core member of Dark Sky Beijing chapter for over 8 years now and helped China engages in international networking and communication. And our chapter recently helped the Shenzhen Xichong community become the first international dark sky community in China. All right. So if you haven't done so, please feel free to use the chat function at the bottom, greeting each other. Let us know where you are from right now, and make sure you are chatting to everyone instead of the host and panelists. In case you didn't already know, there is a live caption available for your reference. You can find it located at the bottom at the toolbar, the CC sign, and you can translate the webinar to whatever language you prefer. I recommend you turn it on during the Q&A section in case one of our speakers, Xinrong, will answer the questions in Chinese, so you can see the live translation there. There are also detailed instructions in your attendee package about how to use this function. And great to see in the chat function, people already watching this conference from everywhere in this world, and thanks to the conference that brings people from every corner of this planet together. Please remember you can introduce yourself and share your thoughts using the chat function. And if you have any questions to the panelists, please utilize the Q&A function and left your questions there. Questions can be upvoted and can also be answered by attendees. It's possible that if you leave your questions on the chat, our staff probably can't notice that. So please remember using the Q&A instead for your questions. In the meantime, I want to remind you that our staff will monitoring both the Q&A and the chat. So we have code of conduct that you can find in your attendee package. Please be nice to each other, be kind, be patient, and respect each other. If you have any question, please feel free to let us know. And all right, in this section, we are honored to have 3 speakers sharing their own experience and efforts and their unique approaches saving the night sky. We have Fanny Soulard talking about Vietnam and the lighting design practices. We have Cesar San Miguel from Australia talking about protecting the dark for wildlife. And we also have Shen Xinrong from China talking about his dark sky protection approach as a high school teacher. Each speaker will be given the presentation for up to 20 minutes, followed by a Q&A session after all speakers have presented. And after this regional session, there will be a short bell break, and then we will move on to engagement workshop sections. The first section will be about Austral tourism. Links to join will be in the 7 attendee hub. So let's get started. First, let's welcome Fanny Soulard, sharing about her experience with Vietnam. Fanny is a native French lighting designer who has been exploring and learning about lighting design with transcultural itinerary throughout the industry. She valued the collaborative nature of lighting projects and embraces cultural diversity. Since she joined Aurecon in 2020, She has become immersed in a multicultural company with branches located in a dozen countries in the Asian Pacific area. She focuses on using intercultural intelligence to enhance communication and design with a holistic approach. Today, she will talk about intercultural intelligence, a way to promote better lighting design practice for underdeveloped countries. Please remember you only got 20 minutes. Let's welcome Fanny.
Thank you, Ryulu. Sorry, should I share my screen?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yep. Can you see my screen properly?
Yep, that looks good.
Perfect. So thank you very much for joining this session and inviting me to these conferences. So actually, a few years ago, I was living in Melbourne, Australia. And then, well, COVID happened, so I needed to look at myself. And this is when I decided to move to Vietnam, and more specifically in Ho Chi Minh City. And why Ho Chi Minh City? Well, actually, because during like 2020 and 2023, the construction market, the Vietnamese construction market was actually the best performing one in the Asia Pacific region. So there were a lot of like requests for people working in construction just to come there. And even if this year, like the market has slowed down a little bit with all this euphoria, we still have like a lot of to build in terms of infrastructure. And there is like a planification to bring like almost like 40 million additional like households like the upcoming years. And one of the reasons of this is because Vietnam might be like heavily impacted by like the climate change in the upcoming years. And many people living in a coastal area or in a rural area might need just to move to the city just to get access to like some very basic resource like clean water and electricity. Just as a small, just to give you like a small outlook of what's happened in Vietnam, like the last years and what is happening right now. I just like get this picture when I arrived 3 years ago. And what you're seeing now, so I'm very sorry for like the poor quality of this picture, but what you're seeing right now in this picture, it's like District 1, which is the main center of Ho Chi Minh City. And this is a picture I have taken like this week. So as you can see, there is some massive change with a lot of different buildings like malls, offices, residential tower. We even have like a new bridge connecting like the center with the other side of the river. Again, more like offices, building, etc., etc. So in 3 years, like you can see that the nocturnal panorama have changed like very like drastically. And who are the people who are building all these projects? Well, actually, it's only 43% of the local investment supporting like this project. So it's a lot of foreigners actually involved in like the construction market here in Vietnam. And if we focus on the company who have like a physical presence in Vietnam and offering like a lighting design service, it's only 1/3 of them who are fully Vietnamese. So we're definitely here in a context, in a multicultural context. And so when I arrived in Vietnam, I also discovered that the requirement from like the clients and like the mindset of my peers here, like people involved like in lighting industry, can be a bit different from what I've seen like in Australia or in France or in Mexico. First point, many clients, they're requesting, they have seen something like in Europe or in US, and they want exactly the same for their project here in Vietnam, even if it's completely disconnected with like the local culture. And that's something which might think like many people that Vietnamese like professional here are mostly like copy pasting and not so much like creative or proactive. So that was like the first point with I needed to deal, and it was something very new for me. And the second point, it's like as lighting designer, usually we're involved in the full process of the project, which means from like the concept, then the documentation, and then the execution. And here in Vietnam, there are many projects where the client is happy to have us like for the concept and the documentation, But then they completely forget about us, about like the execution of the project. But it's still like a very key phase, because this is when like you're transforming like your project, giving birth to the project. And if like the people are not using like the luminaire you have specified, that can have like a massive impact on the results. And then when I arrive, I get like maybe like a dozen of years of experience in lighting design before. So a lot of conviction about like minimizing lighting pollution and trying to develop like specific strategy, like more sustainable and suitable for the future. But when I arrived here with all this best like conviction, like many people told me like, oh, be careful here, like the lighting pollution is definitely not a priority. And many people just explained to me that actually when a client is paying for a lighting design service, they just want to see for what they're paying for, and providing like just visibility to their project. That's like the main priority. So yeah, I was a bit lost, because actually between my experience, my conviction, but also like the local requirement and expectation, things were not matching pretty well. And as a designer, it's very important just to remember that we're not designing for ourselves. We're designing for like end users, but we are designing for like some specific contexts that sometimes they're not like linked directly with our own culture. So it's very important just to find a way just to coordinate and compromise. But let's have like a small moment, just focus on like the lighting pollution here and how people can perceive it. So I've just launched like a small survey among like the people involved in the lighting industry here, which is not only like the lighting designer, but also suppliers, manufacturers, engineers. And I just split like my question for 3 different categories and 2 different groups, like foreigners and Vietnamese. So the first category was the perception of the lighting pollution in our daily life here in Vietnam. So as you can see, like foreigners might be like a bit more sensitive to the lighting pollution than Vietnamese people. And then I just like provide like different, like a list of different pollution we are facing here in Vietnam, because unfortunately it's not only the lighting pollution impacting our life. And both like Vietnamese and foreigners, they're not considering the light pollution as the most harmful for us. The second category is how we're perceiving the lighting pollution in Vietnam in general. So I first asked people just to guess what is like the actual number in terms of trend when and of increasing of like the lighting pollution from one year to another one. Most of the people, they will like actually overestimating this number. So that means that we're all conscious that lighting pollution is there. But then when we are like asking about like if we consider that Vietnam is really suffering about the lighting pollution, again, we have like a very diverse like opinion and approach. In the last category, it's the lighting pollution within our own practice. So on the left, you can see like a picture of one project, which is like Landmark 81, which is actually like the tallest building here in Ho Chi Minh City. And it's a very interesting like area and study cases, because it's actually showcasing like all the lighting pollution like effect you can create in a project. You have clutter, you have sky glow, you have light spilling, you have intrusive light, you have glare. So yeah, it's interesting, and it's quite like if you're a bit like inside the lighting pollution topic, it's quite obvious that yeah, there is some issue there. But if you ask from people who are working here in the lighting industry what they think about this project, again, we have like very diverse like opinion. And while like most of the foreigners, they will consider that yes, this is not like maybe a good design. Actually, like Vietnamese people, they can claim that maybe this is not like the worst. And again, I also ask like in terms of like practice, if like people get like the tools and the opportunity just to implement strategy just to limit the lighting pollution. Not everyone has the feeling like they have like this opportunity within their project. So as a small like synthesis, yes, we're all conscious like there is lighting pollution here in terms as like lighting professional in Vietnam, but we don't have like the same perception and the same way just to quantify it. And that might be due because we have like different references of what is considered as bright, not bright, or different influences of what we consider as a good design. And also maybe a bit of language barrier, because if you're researching about lighting pollution, you might find like a lot of research in English, a lot of research even in French, but maybe not that much in Vietnamese. Then both groups, like foreigners and Vietnamese, they're not considering like the light pollution as the most harmful and maybe the most like important topic in Vietnam. We still have like a full package of challenge in terms of pollution here, like plastic pollution, water pollution, noise pollution. So it's a lot just to consider inside like a construction project. And then the last thing, so regarding like our practice and how we can implement strategy just to minimize lighting pollution, well, we don't have the feeling to get like the same tools and knowledge just to be like very efficient with this within our practice. And that's might be like, so there is different reason. One of the reason it's like this topic, sustainability in general, is definitely not like a priority for the investor here. So it won't be part of the main requirements when we're designing. It's something extra we need to bring. Also, like the labor cost here and the energy cost is very low. So nobody will ask you just to track the power consumption, for example, or just to get like a specific strategy for the maintenance of this building. And in terms of standards, so we have a few standards of light in the lighting industry here in Vietnam, but they have been launched in 2005, so they're quite obsolete now, and they're not covering all the project typology. So how can we find something just to align all of us, use our expertise, and just to improve a bit like our practice in general? So this is when I guess that intercultural intelligence can help us. So the intercultural intelligence in general, it's mostly used for human resource people who are trying just to coordinate better like different groups with different culture. So when I say different culture, I'm not referring only to people like having different nationalities. It could be also people like belonging to a different generation or belonging to a different social class or belonging to a different corporation environment or different industry. And the interest with like the intercultural intelligence, it's just to develop some tools, mindsets, just to guide people and to find the way to build like a good relationship where everyone is considered. So let's have a look like to this like methodology. So if you have a look in all like the intercultural intelligence literature, everything always starts with like a diagnostic. And I think as like a designer, it's very important because we might face this like interculturality, sorry, when we are designing like for the people inside our design, because we are mostly designing for people we don't know in places we are not living. And also like there is also interculturality relationship with the people we're working with, because we're always involved inside like a consultant team. We're not working alone. We always need just to deal with like an architect, interior designer, and other consultant, engineers, contractors, and so on. So the first point is just to get like collecting data about the project and collecting data about who is building the project with us. Second point is just to question this data, because the way we are understanding all of this is through our own culture filter, which might not be the one which is appropriate for the project. So it's just doing like an effort to go to questioning like this data and to provide them like a cultural orientation. So it's not so easy, but we have like this cultural dimension, which maybe can help us just to find like a better way just to orientate our design. And once we get that, so we have our data, we know how we want to orientate them, which might be completely different from how we want to orientate them or how we used to orientate our data in the previous work. We can build with this. And this is like how we can implement some like public hearing, maybe like integrate more like technical and scientist research information, using like some mediator advice, analyzing like some similar project done by other people in a different way, And for the people who are designing the project with us, maybe like suggesting like different information support, not having like always the same template set in terms of documentation. Also like promoting a bit like the physical interaction, organizing some workshop and build like a proper cooperation. So this is where some of the people here can be inside this process. And I just like underline a bit like the physical interaction, because I know that we are in a digital area and all like the digital tools, they're very helpful. But this person, like Albert Mehrabian, was saying that the communication actually is relying only on 8% on the wording, on the language itself. 32% it's on the tone of the voice, and 60% on the non-verbal communication. So I let you imagine like the main difference between communicating something through an email, communicating something through like a video chat with like the camera on off, or communicating something in a face-to-face interaction. And I believe like physical interaction is still very important. So for our own like feeling and the way just to perceive and capture like the site like characteristic, for example, but also because we all like doing like a human work actually. So it's very important sometimes just to also try to promote this and get this, and more specifically when we are in a multicultural environment. And I believe that if you're able just to provide, just to get inspired by this methodology, you might get like some benefit from an individual perspective, from a team perspective, and from a project perspective. And now maybe you can like expect from my part just to show you like a perfect like example using this methodology. But actually, I don't have any like example to show to display like today. So I know it's a bit disappointed, but actually I believe like this, like the intercultural intelligence in general, it's more like a mindset, and we can use like this tool just to inspire and to promote like better practice. But it's very difficult just to stick to this, because you need to engage people, you need to break some habits, and you need to push yourself and the other people out of your comfort zone, which is definitely not so easy for everyone just to be in that position. So I believe it's a very long like process in terms of methodology and changing and all that stuff, but it might be good just to have at least like a tool so we can all refer and inspire ourselves. But I have still something just to share with you, which is not like a building project itself, but which is another kind of project, which is more like relating with like the social meeting and all that stuff, which is like the Women in Lighting project. We just started like this year in Vietnam. So it's not new. It's something which has been launched like 4 years ago by a British lighting design studio, Light Collective, and they did it at an international level. And in Vietnam, so the main purpose of this project is to promote visibility of the woman inside the lighting industry. And in Vietnam, we try to serve like this purpose, but we also enjoy this just to set up some free social meeting within the industry, because actually like the current meeting, they're a bit kind of VIP or very like business oriented to some like project typology, but not so exhaustive and so inclusive. We also try to create through this project some materials in Vietnamese, and just to try to share it like on internet, different platforms, social media. We try also just to get like some session by connecting with like other discipline, like speaking about lighting, but not through our own like project and perspective. So it could be like local astronomers club. We're trying to get in contact with some scientists. We're involving architects, engineers, and other kind of actors like this. Then we have also like some projects just to be a bit more involved in like the educative program in school and in university here. So I know that some of my peers are already involved in this, but the idea is just to get like a more diverse like learning like research and reference. And then like just as a conclusion, the idea of this project is also like basically just to develop curiosity between each other, empathy, flexibility, and modesty within our expertise, because we still have like a lot to learn. And the best way just to build like good practice is definitely just to gather like all our strengths and understand better like how we can like coordinate better. And here's some picture of our community.
Thank you, Fanny.
Thank you.
Such a wonderful presentation, and thank you for sharing your experience in Vietnam and women's essential role in the lighting industry. So many of the challenges you have encountered in Vietnam is the same for many developing countries.
Yeah.
Especially many people still don't realize light pollution is a pollution. So many people don't even know it's a pollution. So raising the awareness is always the top priority for many countries. So yeah, thank you again.